There we go, I think everything's at the right setting. There. Good, up and running. Right. Tardis log entry 4890082. I'm just making up numbers as I go. Hopefully one day I might actually put them in order. Anyway, down to business. The Tardis log. This is logging information of previous adventures that I may have not have logged in the past. Well, here's my chance to do it now. I will be recalling these events and hopefully me or someone else is watching them. These can be of great importance, so pay attention. Now, all good entries should have a code name, yes? Well, let's see, what should I call this one? Ah, yes, I know. I remember just the thing. For the fish tank of death. It was the 1st of July 2013, 2 whole years before I'd even created my portable TARDIS. At this point in time, Matthew was going on my adventures with me, rather reluctantly. My brother, who was more than eager to go along, I felt was too young at the time, and besides, who wants to drag your brother around everywhere with you? Anyhow, it was starting to become what would to be a fairly warm summer's day, especially for the UK. I was on my way to Matthew's house. Nothing really, just a visit. I don't always go looking for trouble, it just happens to find me somehow. Anyway, as I approached Matthew's house, I could see no visible movement through the window. In fact, it was hard to see through the house at all. The blinds were tightly shut, as were the windows, odd considering the weather. I approached Matthew's big red door, which seemed oddly cold. It seemed to be locked as well, so I couldn't just push my way in. I knocked on the door. I knocked on it again. No answer. I tried calling the house. I tried calling Matthew's phone. Although this was a pointless measure. Matthew never answered his phone. He never had his phone even in the same room when he was in his own house. It was always a nightmare trying to get a hold of him. Especially if the whole universe was in danger. I thought I'd better try my sonic screwdriver in this case. After all, I wasn't really breaking in. I was an invited guest. His dad said I could pop round any time I liked. So off I did. That's odd. Seems to be drained. I didn't have a clue why, but the sonic screwdriver's power cell was completely drained of any power. Something must be draining this whole area around the house. Maybe that's why there was no power on. After all, even if the lights are off, which makes sense for this time of day, why isn't the TV on? Or some movement on other appliances? Completely dead. Luckily for such an occasion, I carried in my pocket a variety of tools. I reached into my pocket, on my left side. At the time, I was wearing a dark blue blazer, which only had 2 pockets on its outside. It made me feel very distinct and stand out in a crowd. I was never the type of person who ever wanted to fit in anywhere. After all, what's the point in that? And people say, well, why don't you want to be normal? I would just say, well, normality is what one perceives it to be, and this is what I perceive myself as me being normal. After all, doing what people call being abnormal is so much more interesting and exciting. Everyday life can be such a bore. I continued reaching inside my pocket. I found some tissues, a black biro pen, an apple, some 2 and 1p coins, a receipt from Poundland I was keeping just in case I ever did need to take back that mug I got my brother for his birthday, some tweezers, and, my old lock-picking kit. Good. Well, sonic screwdriver may be easier, but hey, you can't argue with the classics. No power required. I began to pick the lock. A little bit to the left. Or maybe to the right. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. I've been watching YouTube videos on how to do it. Not exactly the best method, but generally it did seem to work. Into the lock a little further and... there. That should do it. The door was now open. As I entered the hallway, it was very dark. There didn't really seem to be any light coming in from anywhere. I shouted, "Hello? Matthew? Mr. and Mrs. Pomfrey? Matthew's sister? Anyone? Come on. Matthew, even your dogs would be a nice sight for sore eyes at the minute." But there was nothing. Just complete and utter silence. I don't like this. Not one little bit. What has happened to you, Matthew? Whatever it is, I'll find out, I swear. I could see through the doorway into the living room. It was completely bare, as was the walkway into the kitchen. The only thing was interest was a plate left out on the kitchen bench. It had 2 slices of bread that were spread with butter, and some lettuce placed on the slices of the bread. "Someone's been making a sandwich," I said, feeling quite hungry at the time. However, this was hardly the time for eating, and this was a very bad sign. I checked the bread and it felt pretty stale. I estimate it's been here, about 2 hours, I reckon. Knowing my granny kept food long after its expiry date, I had a really good idea how long it takes for food to expire, especially when left out in the open. "Well," I exclaimed, "there's nothing more here. Time to go upstairs." This was nerve-wracking for me at the time. You see, downstairs, if something or monster and that comes after you, you've got plenty places to run. Matthew had a back door and a front door. There was plenty places to run. But upstairs, well, that was a different occasion, wasn't it? And it's hard running downstairs without tripping down them. So I had to be cautious. Still, I had to find out what happened to Matthew and to his family. So, I took in a deep breath and I slowly walked up the stairs. The staircase was very narrow, with thick, soft red carpet. What had once been a trip hazard for me, now I was thankful for, as it dampened my footsteps as I walked up the stairs. The anticipation of what I would find at the top intrigued my curiosity, yet also set my nerves at edge. Make out at the top of the stairs was a door frame to the bathroom, which I remember being quite small. I knew that it would be very unlikely that Matthew and his family were all in there. Still, it was a possibility, and now that I had reached the landing and could barely see anything, it was the closest door to me, so I thought I might as well try that first. I opened the latch. Nothing. Just as I thought. I did startle myself as I saw what I thought was something in front of me, yet was just the reflection in the mirror. I thought to myself, this is stupid. The most logical place Matthew would be is Matthew's bedroom. That was on the other side of the hallway. I say that and you think that, oh, it's quite far away, but actually the landing to Matthew's house is pretty small. In fact, if I stood in the centre of his upstairs hallway, I could probably reach the bathroom door and Matthew's bedroom door at the same time. This was it though. No more messing about. I had to know. Was Matthew in there? Was he alright? There was always the possibility that his family had just gone on holiday, but without telling me, without letting anyone know. Besides, we were in school at the moment. During our long conversations with our friends in the library, surely he would have mentioned if he was going away. No. Something's happened. Something must have happened. And I wasn't going to rest until I found out what it was. I walked slowly but cautiously up to Matthew's bedroom door. I slowly opened the latchet. And then, slowly entering the room. As I entered, I could see a blue glow. Was this Matthew's monitor? Was he playing some aquatic game? As I fully entered the room, I learned that that was not the case, unfortunately. I stood in amazement of what I saw. There, in the middle of Matthew's bedroom, was Matthew, but in a giant tank. A tank full of some blue water, or what I thought was water at least, though whatever this liquid was seems to be illuminating itself. I exclaimed to the company of no one. I quickly looked behind me to make sure that I wasn't followed or no one was staring at me. Who knows who have done this, I thought. I then approached the tank, where I could see some kind of breathing apparatus around Matthew's face and nose. "Let's hope that's oxygen they're giving you, eh?" I said, in the blind hope that hopefully he could hear me. "Don't worry, Matthew. I'm going to get you out of here. Somehow, and we're both going to find out what's happening, and where your family is, and unless they're in other rooms, who knows, maybe in the other tanks. But we have to fix one thing at a time, remember, just one thing at a time." I saw that his bed had been flipped over violently in order to make room for this tank. Around the back of the tank there were some controls. I didn't dare touch anything at the moment, since I had no idea what they would do. But I knew I couldn't just stand around doing nothing for long. Whatever did this to Matthew would surely be back, if it wasn't already still here in one of the other rooms. Then, at the top of the tank, I saw what looked like an oxygen meter, and unfortunately, it was nearly empty. If I didn't think of something soon, Matthew would die.